You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
What's up, creeps, and welcome to a brand new Epic Film Guys Fresh Frights review. I'm Justin.
Jeremy.
And this week on the show, we're talking about a movie that came to theaters recently that deserves all the discussion it could possibly get, all the praise it could possibly get. We're here to talk about it. Jeremy, what fucking movie am I talking about?
We're talking about Lisa Frankenstein, a movie that's filled with teenage hormones and pee-pees getting chopped off and limbs being sewn on in a mystical tanning bed, man.
It's fucking horny. It's violent. There's lovey-dovey shit. It's romantic. It's hearkening back to the 80s John Hughes world of teen movies. Yes. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Not enough fucking people are talking about it. So we, as the Epic Film Guys, decided that we had to talk about it on the show with this Fresh Fright review. It definitely falls in line with the horror genre. It is horror-centric if I ever did fucking see it. And we, Jeremy, had the opportunity to see it early, and we're kind of late on this shit, like we always are. But thank you, to the studio for letting us see it early and seeing like a really cool, Universal invited us focus features, if you will. And there was an axe throwing party. We got
miniature sandwiches.
Yes, there were sliders to be had, and what's interesting is, spoiler alert, as we always let you know before we talk about the movie, there will be spoilers in the review, but there are axe dismemberments in the movie, and it was funny to me that, the after party led to an axe throwing thing. Have you ever done axe throwing?
No, absolutely not. I am the most accident prone person ever. Even though they're like, oh, the way we set it up, it's safe. I'm like, no, I'm gonna hurt myself. It's like absolutely going to happen. So what's funny is that after we saw the movie, you were like, hey, open bar, free food, axe throwing, and I'm like, all right, well, I turned 40 in September, and I gotta drop some Limp Bizkits, some LBs.
Stop making me feel old. I already
it's coming for me. So I'm like, I'm trying to drop this baby weight that I've had for almost 40 years.
baby, a baby.
So I'm like doing this intermittent fasting bullshit. It's actually working pretty well for me. But so you were like, yeah, it's gonna be axe throwing, free booze, and food, and it's like, all right, well, I don't drink. I'm fasting right now, and I'm accident prone. I'm like, well, Justin, you have yourself a grand, glorious time, my friend.
I didn't throw any axes. And, of course, I didn't see any assholes in which I wanted to throw an axe into their forehead
I just thought you meant I didn't see any assholes. I'm like, was that on the invitation? Like, yeah, come throw axes, eat tiny sandwiches, look at buttholes.
I'm just saying, though, there would have been cardio there, to correspond with the heavy carbs, the protein, all that shit. But, ladies and gentlemen, this movie, I mean, I know a lot of people went out to see it. Not enough people went out to see it. So Lisa Frankenstein, yes. This movie we've been talking about on the show for quite a few weeks here, directed by Zelda Williams. Jeremy, tell our audience who the fuck she is if they don't already know who she is.
The daughter of Robin Williams. The late, great, amazing,
iconic,
gift of a human being that we never fucking deserved. Robin Williams.
Yeah, and she's done some directing of music videos. She's acted in some shows and stuff, but this was her big first directorial debut. And unfortunately, Jeremy, the movie, it's done very little. I mean, it had a budget of, I believe, about $5.4 million-ish. and it's done 13 million as of the date of this recording. So we're a little bit late on this one. So I'm happy to see it's done double its budget, but it's unfortunate because it came out as a Valentine's Day movie, and it is the perfect. It's like a quintessential Valentine's Day movie to take anyone to. I think teen, regardless of their age. I mean, the majority of people our age, Jeremy, grew up with John Hughes movies or the horror movies that we loved, and it's the perfect marriage of those two kinds of movies together. And I think for the up-and-coming goth, if you will, a lot of the youth that are into that style, this movie just harkens back to those kinds of movies that they don't get anymore, and it connects on a deep level. This movie, if you're uninitiated, if you have not seen the trailers, is a coming-of-rage love story about a teenager and her crush who happens to be a corpse. After a set of horrific circumstances bringing him back to life, the two embark on a journey to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. So, jumping right from the beginning here, you and I had talked about this on the show months ago. But just to refresh our audience a little bit, how did you feel about this movie from the get-go in terms of your excitement for it? Were you excited for Lisa Frankenstein, Jeremy?
I mean, I was, it wasn't something that I was like, holy shit, I gotta go see me some Lisa fucking Frankenstein. But it was something that I did have some interest in. It wasn't a situation of like, I guess I'll go see this thing. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. Horror is hard to do. Comedy is hard to do. What's really fucking hard to do is horror comedies, right?
100%, dude.
So
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, especially recently, I went back and rewatched Shaun of the Dead, and holy fucking shit, man! Like that movie should be like the playbook for how to write a horror comedy, because the horror is fucking fantastic and the comedy is fantastic. And they don't make a parody out of the horror. I feel like if you're making a good horror comedy, you can't make fun of the horror genre, right? You have to play it straight, but also the comedy stuff has to really work, man. And this movie mostly worked for me, but I was stoked to go see this with you, and I loved the aesthetic in this movie. And the one thing that I'm gonna say off the bat is Jenna Ortega. I think she's wildly talented, and I get why she's a phenomenon right now. But the reason I bring that up is because I think that Catherine Newton needs to be in that same sentence.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. Jenna Ortega's
I know. Everybody listening to this is like, what the fuck is he talking about? Well, the reason I bring that up is because Honestly, I think Jenna Ortega is great for what she is. I'm not the biggest Jenna Ortega fan. What I am a big fan of is Catherine Newton after this movie. Like, I saw her in Freaky and then some other things, and this one really made me go, I fucking love this chick. I think she's a fantastic actress. And the performance that she gives in the movie, she fucking nailed it, man. She's incredible. Now I'm like, all right, I'm a little hyped to see Abigail now because she's in that movie that's coming out, because how wonderful she was in this movie. And like, literally, what a huge feat to carry for this film, because, I mean, honestly, this movie lies on her shoulders.
It really does.
If she didn't knock it out of the park, the movie was not going to work at all. And I feel like, dude, home run from her. Cannot wait to see what she does next. Cole Sprouse, I mean, we're going to get into a whole bunch of different shit. His physical comedy was so fantastic, and his ability to emote his emotions with no dialogue. Man, kudos to that guy.
In full fucking makeup.
Full makeup. I'm glad that dude's getting his come up too. It's hard for child actors to, kind of reinvent themselves and continue to.
After Zach and Cody, I mean, dude, listen, I know, your little girls are still a little bit young for that, but my daughter's now 20. But Zach and Cody was definitely a show that we watched consistently when my daughter Kaya was growing up, like all the fucking time. And never did I ever think in my wildest dreams that one of them would be a zombie, in a great performance in an upcoming awesome horror
Let's
movie.
talk about this right now
So-
in the same sentence as talking about Sprouse as a zombie. Dude, I literally looked at you during the movie and said, Jesus Christ.
This happens often.
For sure. But it had to have been intentional, right? And because during the movie, you literally said it's very intentional, but there was a point, I feel like Tarantino right now. I'm like so hyped up to be talking about this movie with you.
What?
Listen, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Are you wanting to talk about feet? Or?
Listen, she had the most amazing feet ever. There's quite a few nods to the Corpse Bride in this movie. How could there not be, given the plot of the movie? But there were literal moments of this movie where, with the makeup, they made Sprouse look exactly like Johnny Depp. And
yeah, 100%.
I looked at you and
yes.
went, dude, they made him look like he looks like Johnny Depp, and you were like, very intentional. But it was something that it was just kind of like, wow, like it was honestly really impressive that they were able to pull it off on that level, because it fucking looked just like him at certain points.
It did, and also, like, when you watch the movie, you don't even really, from start to finish, notice that it's Sprouse. Because when you first see him, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, but, like, the makeup is so heavy. I mean, he's, like, full-on fucking zombie, like, full mask and all that. And then throughout the movie, he kind of transcends that. He evolves, and, we find out later on that he knows that if you use this tanning bed that Lisa's stepmother has, and she's fried to a fucking crisp. She's like KF motherfucking C, top crispy.
It was her stepsister Taffy. She won it in a beauty pageant.
Yeah, so they both be using that shit, and they're both super dark, and they realize, like, hey, if you put like a new body part on this guy and put him in the tanning bed, it will actually heal him. Interesting way to kind of reanimate.
So the tanning bed was broken, and there was a scene early on in the movie where Lisa goes to use the tanning bed, and she gets electrocuted because there's an issue with the tanning bed. And so that's when later on in the movie, when our Frankenstein, if you will, he knows that the creature. Yes, he knows that he was reanimated from being struck by lightning. So he knows that if a new body part is sewn onto him, that in order for it to basically be activated, there's got to be some electricity. So that's when she's like, "Oh my god, the tanning bed!" And dude, I think that that's such a cool, simple little plot device.
Dude, I fucking love it, man. I fucking love it because, I mean, now in retrospect, 2024, we know how terrible tanning beds are for you. What it does to your skin. It causes skin cancer to some people. Growing up, I had an aunt. I will not name her, but she had a tanning bed and a hot tub at her house. And I was like, love going there. I'll tan. I'll get a fucking hang out in the fucking hot tub. I might drink a wine cooler if she sneaks me one in my teens. Awesome. Felt like this movie a little bit, but it was a cool way to like kind of connect the past. We meet this character of Lisa Swallows, and great name, by the way. You got to give all the credit in the world to Diablo Cody. Everyone in the horror world knows her now. They didn't know her 20 years ago, but motherfuckers be talking about Jennifer's Body like it's all about, like, that's their life plan, is to bring that up. And, she came back and she wrote this thing. And let's just go out on a limb right now and just say that one of the best things about this movie is the writing, is the dialogue. But, we meet this character that we connect with that feels like a John Hughes movie. And she goes to this fucking party. And she's like, we find out very early on that she's still fucking reeling from her mom's gruesome axe murder. I didn't totally expect that. Like, oh shit, we're going to see her mom get brutally murdered first thing in the movie, and her dad remarries to someone that she absolutely hates, this horrible narcissistic woman named Janet. And, the first actual social interaction we see with her is her at a fucking party. And her new sister brings her to this party, and she drinks this drink. And you can tell she's not a heavy drinker. She's not into drugs or anything. But she drinks it, and then, of course, what happens is, she kind of starts to hallucinate and such, and she ends up in this graveyard. Now, Jeremy, I missed about the first 5 minutes due to traffic and such, but you said I didn't miss much.
You didn't,
but
yeah.
From what I've read, Lisa has this obsession with this graveyard, this bachelor's graveyard or whatever.
Yeah, it's like an abandoned, long-forgotten graveyard that people in the town are like, that fucking graveyard's creepy as shit because it's been untended to for so long. So it's like overgrown with weeds and plants, and it's not appealing looking. So Lisa hangs out there. She's a loner. There was they made it a point to say that there was a period of time where she literally didn't speak or talk to anyone
at all.
Yeah,
right?
She was like catatonic after what happened to her mom with the murder. So she's spending some time in this graveyard by herself, and she sees this grave that has a statue of a very handsome young man, and she talks to it, and she tends to the grave, and that's the setup right there.
Yeah, and I've come out on the show over the last couple years or so, and really made claim to say, I'm so sick of fucking movies showing bullies. We have a sense of bullying in this movie, but it's not so over the top. What we really have is Lisa just trying to fit in and pushing her way into that group. There's a boy that she really has the hots for. And for some reason, this really, again, I'm just going to say it, unattractive girl he's hanging out with that has this drink that she got from some other dude, in which Lisa drinks, and apparently we're led to believe, Jeremy, I don't know if I'm right or wrong here, but it has PCP in it, and she's hallucinating off that. So from there, she goes on, and she's just walking around this party. Clearly she's not super into doing drugs and such. And then she has her lab partner trying to rape her, which is uber fucking gross.
Yeah,
man.
it was because at first
disgusting.
this guy makes it seem like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? Are you okay? And she has been drugged, and she's like, I don't feel good. And he's like, it's okay. I can help you. And it seems like, he's earnest in his wanting to help her. And then of course he has ulterior motives here, and it's a plot device because we're supposed to hate him. Right? We're supposed to hate him. We're also supposed to hate the chick who spiked the drink with the drugs, which, correct me if I'm wrong, they never murdered her.
They didn't murder her, and she claimed that somebody else spiked the drink.
She was such an unlikable character that, spoiler, as we stated.
Spoiler.
I was so surprised that they didn't off her, that she wasn't part of the body count in this movie.
Yeah, no, she lives through it. I mean, and there's confrontations with her on numerous occasions. I was like, that's maybe one of the things that I have issue with in the movie is dude, you're gonna go after a handful of people in this movie, which we'll get to, but the one that actually tries to fuck you over the worst, hands you the drink, whatever, she's
an asshole. That character's an
runs
asshole.
off unscathed. Yeah, she's an asshole. She's a total fucking bitch. She gets off unscathed, but I digress. But so this whole thing, as you said perfectly, it's a plot device to lead her to, she's totally fucked up. She's drugged. She's like, fuck this dude. I'm going to go to the cemetery again. And she speaks to the grave of this young Victorian bachelor. And she says to him, I wish I was with you. And she goes back to her house and we see a bolt of lightning in classic Frankenstein style, or we could say Jason Lives style, right to the center of his heart, and it brings him back to life. And then this creature, the following day, finds his way to her house. And then, of course, as I always like to say on the show, hijinks fucking ensue. And hijinks ensue while Lisa is watching one of your favorite movies of all fucking time, which is a great fucking moment because she's like, no, I don't want to see Look Who's Talking with her family and her stepmom. She's like, no, I'm just going to stay at home after like the sewing job she does. She's like at like a tailor shop or some shit. And dude, so, she's watching a movie and it's one of your favorite movies of all fucking time. And you tune to me, you're like, who is it? None other than
Day of the Dead. It's Bub.
It's Bub on the screen. And, interesting choice because we've seen so many fucking movies where Night of the Living Dead pops up on the screen because it's, public domain and stuff, and it's easy to do and always welcomed. But it was awesome to see Day of the Dead show up.
Unexpected for sure.
Yeah. So that shows up, and then, of course, 2 seconds later, the creature is like basically knocking on her door and getting into the house and terrorizing Lisa. And, it doesn't take long. It's a really entertaining scene, by the way. I really love this sequence. It's very funny, very comedic, where he's chasing her around the house and we're led to believe he might be trying to hurt her. And in essence, he's just trying to be like, yo, you called
and I'm
for
here,
me, bitch.
and I'm here. And
I'm here.
It'd be impossible for us to not talk about this as well, but this movie in so many different ways and elements also feels and looks at times like a Tim Burton film. The Neighborhood, the Neighborhood absolutely looks like it's straight out of a Tim Burton movie. The score to this is very reminiscent of Danny Elfman style at various different times throughout the movie. Again, going back to the Corpse Bride thing, you can tell that Tim Burton. It was like a mix, man. Like they threw Tim Burton in a blender, they threw John Hughes in a blender, and they just let it go and they poured out the recipe here, and that's kind of what we got, and it's fantastic in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear here. No one else is doing this. So, openly welcome for people to make movies influenced by the names you mentioned. I mean, no one's making John Hughes teen movies anymore. And if anything, we don't get that many Tim Burton homages anymore either. So it's cool to see a movie that is influenced by a decade and then, of course, a style mixed together by someone like Zelda Williams with a Diablo Cody script that really just sets out to do something very specific. And not only does it harken back to that kind of movie, but I'm sure you will agree with me, Jeremy, it harkens back to the Teen Wolves and the movies of the 80s, like in essence, The Boy and His Monster, like Once Bitten, or there's so many we could mention where a character, I would even dare say, just one of the guys, where there's a character that's a loser, no one likes him, and someone kind of like comes upon him and ends up affecting his life, or their life rather, and then they change into this super confident, different character. When we meet Lisa, she's cool, she likes good music, but she's kind of like, as she says herself, this dorky person, and when the creature comes upon her and they meet and they start connecting, and one of the funniest scenes in the movie is him throwing wardrobe at her, like, try this on. She does it to him, he does it to her, and she's like, that's not really my style. And then he kind of pushes this super uber over-the-top goth style on her to the point where she's wearing her stepsister's, like, Halloween costume, and then she's walking in school, like, with these super cool slow motion shots, like walking down the hall where everyone's like totally fawning over her and like, holy shit, she's hot. What the fuck happened? And this is what happened all the time in 80s movies, Jeremy, where the main character was always attractive, but they'd put a little makeup on them, or they would change their hairstyle. They'd put a fucking jacket on them or something different, and next thing you know, they come in the next day and everyone's like, it'd be this moment like, holy shit. And then everyone wants to, in other words, fuck them. Or hang out with them or whatever it may be. You know, in essence, it's a high school movie, so yes, everyone wants to fuck them. But in this movie, it's a situation where Lisa gains this ultra confidence in herself, where we know that after she loses her mother and her dad remarries to this super over the top narcissistic stepmother who she can't stand. You know, she's had confidence issues, you know, and she has, like you said earlier on, she hasn't spoken much. And now, you know, this creature, this zombie, has kind of given her a new way of thinking and this new way of confidence. So much so that, you know, it leads to
murder
in the first degree, motherfucker. You know, she's just like, hey, listen, you can tell she's innocent in this. She just, again, anyone that's had a step parent that sucks, it sucks. I've been there. Lots of people have. And in this case, her stepmother really fucking hates her. And they're having this argument, and she's about to leave town, in terms of the stepmother. And dude, the creature's like sick of hearing this shit. He's sick of fucking hearing her be
an asshole,
treated like a piece of shit. And he takes a sewing machine and smashes it over her fucking head and kills her. And that's the first murder in the movie.
It was such a good one because Carla Gugino, did I say that right?
I think
Gugino,
Gugino. Janet Swallows, yes.
Chick from Son-in-Law.
Yes, that's true. Oh my God, that's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, dude, they make her such an unlikable character that when the creature finally smashes her over the head with the sewing machine, it was so earned, and we were like, oh, fucking thank God. But instantly, it was like the stress of like, okay, well, now what do we do? And man, I think one of the best parts of this movie was that it kind of went against archetype for the stepsister, even though she was so beautiful and
gorgeous.
Oh my God, honestly, one of the most beautiful chicks that I've ever seen in a movie. I was like, wow, this chick is really, really pretty.
And great performance,
100%,
for sure.
Typically in these kind of movies, the beautiful stepsister that's the most popular girl in school would be an asshole, right? And
she'd be
and
a bitch,
everybody
right?
else would be like to our main character, why can't you be more like them? You know, but and the stepsister would typically rub it in your face, like, oh, I've got this, and I'm dating the most popular boy in school, and you know, if you dressed better, XYZ. Dude, Taffy, which is Lisa's sister in the movie, stepsister, she was so sweet and always nothing but kind to Lisa. So,
dude, she would offer to let her borrow her clothes, you know,
use my tanning bed, like,
dude, she was there at the party when, you know, the bully stuck up for her, protected her. We'll get to how she's treated later on in the movie in a little bit here, but a great character.
Even though her mom was a piece of shit in the movie that you hated, that you wanted the monster to kill, when...
Jeremy, let's be clear here. You said she was a piece of shit, but when she showed up in that fucking one-piece gym outfit, I heard you say, "Damn."
Oh God! I say, God damn.
That pink, blue, and fucking purple outfit. And she went before she ate that cottage cheese with the fucking worm.
Carla Gugino, you know, after Son-in-Law and Watchmen and all this other shit that she's been in, for decades and decades in Hollywood, she still has it, man.
Gorgeous,
God
beautiful
damn.
woman. No, but I loved it. I thought it was so funny that we're in a theater and like it's totally silent. And when she went to the door in that scene and she was wearing that pink, purple, and blue fucking one-piece leotard, and I heard Jeremy just go, "Damn."
God damn.
I was like, well. In reality, though, they nailed that 80s aesthetic, too. They nailed... I have to bring this up now, though, while we're talking about it. They nailed the clothing. And I complained about this so fucking often, dude, when we're watching movies that harken back to the 80s. They got everything right. They actually captured vintage clothing. Like, you could tell they grabbed vintage shit for these people to wear. Rather than just try to remake stuff and make it not look legitimate. The house that they live in is pink from the outside. It's a creative choice, right? The inside is like gaudy pink and stuff, but all the furniture, all of the knickknacks and stuff like that, the mirrors, the TV, everything, the couches, the furniture, all that stuff, for the most part, I would say is about 85% accurate. Because you know me, man. Like, I know that shit to a T. And, any one of us that loves 80s horror, we watch that shit, and I'm sitting there, and I'm not only watching the kills, but I'm like, yeah, that's a nice couch. Yeah, I love that picture in the background. Yeah. What a nice desk back there. They nailed all of that.
Yeah, I mean, so you feel awful for the stepsister that she's like, I hope mom's okay. Like, I hope she's okay. And like Lisa's like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's fine, even though she knows damn well that her stepsister's mom is in a fucking grave in the graveyard.
And dude, the whole thing is like there's a huge pool of blood on her fucking very light colored there it is. Ooh, boom. Carpet. And she's trying to hide it. One of the great suspense scenes of the movie where she's trying to hide that and they're talking and, they call the hotel and they're like, oh, my mom didn't show up and, oh, I'm sure she's fine. But we all know her fate that occurred in Lisa's bedroom. And then it's like very quickly the movie turns into this thing where Lisa becomes this very powerful figure to herself. And she knows she has this ace in, her back pocket, which is the creature.
A pet monster.
If anyone fucks with her, she's got an in, like they're getting fucked. And the dude that ends, in the beginning of the movie that assaults her, well, his fate is next. Because she's realizing the creature, he's got limbs missing and shit, like he can't hear. They try attaching the stepmother's ear to to his head so they can hear and stuff. And so Lisa lures the guy that tried to he technically assaulted her at the party to this park, and then of course, well,
they kill him.
They
kill him.
His hand gets chopped off, and then of course the creature just gets. It's funny how like impatient he gets. He's like, he's like moving around and sporadically. He's like, "Fuck this!" and he takes the small axe and throws it and kills the dude. It's like, all right, cool. Like for PG-13.
I was shocked.
You and I
was shocked, and I told you that I was like, "This has got to be an R.
Yeah,
it's got to be an R."
We both thought it was an R while we were watching it, even though like I thought that I remember that it was PG-13, but when we left it, we were like, this has got to be R. You kept saying it's R. And then I looked at the poster that was outside of the screening. I was like, holy shit, this is PG-13. This movie, for what we see in it, is absolutely brutal. Mm-hmm. We see blood in this movie. We don't see actual like full-on decapitations, if you will. But for PG-13, I was like, whoa, this movie is horny, tons of sexual innuendo, and it's violent as fuck. Mm-hmm. I mean, we see X getting thrown at people and like blood splatter. So to me, that's pretty violent for a PG-13.
Yeah, my mind was blown when we found out that it was PG-13. I was like, well, holy shit. I guess a lot is implied, and there's a lot of cut shots and things like that, but I feel like there's some good red stuff in there, implied, for sure.
Yeah, So, moving along with the plot and such, just so we can get through the review, that Doug dude, he gets his hand cut off and he's dead. And then so police start investigating this thing, and the creature hides the bodies, and he starts looking like his old self. And he and Lisa start to bond, and there starts to be this romance.
And this is where it becomes like a deconstruction of like an 80s rom-com or a John Hughes.
Yes.
Because it's the same thing with one of these movies where it's, our lead character is looking for love, and they have somebody that they're infatuated with, while they have, the geeky best friend, if you will, that, truly loves our lead character and would treat them exactly how they want to be treated. And then the best friend is always the one who's actually the perfect match for the lead. And our lead doesn't find out until the end of the movie that the person that they're supposed to be with was right in front of them the whole time.
Isn't it frustrating? I found it frustrating. Even though I know that's the formula.
It is the formula.
I was like, he's right there. Seriously.
And it's funny because
there. I mean, he's
in
dead,
the trailer when she looks at the grave and she says, "I wish that I was with you." She specifies when he comes back to life. He's like, "Here I am." And she's like, "Oh no, I just meant I wish I was with you, like dead, not with you." And he's like,
But we both know, watching the movie, the audience knows she doesn't necessarily mean that. She wants this dude at school, which
he's like the editor of the school paper or some shit.
He's cool. He's got a leather jacket, like he's got long hair. He's attractive. He's the bad boy.
Listens to cool music.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, but the moment that made me cry, and I shit you not, you didn't see me crying, Jeremy, but it's when the creature, we find out, was a musician when he was alive, and they play REO Speedwagon's Keep On Loving You on the piano, and he's playing it, and Lisa's singing it. And normally in a mainstream movie, they would cut that kind of scene short, but they play almost the whole movie. Or, I'm sorry, they play almost the whole song, rather. And it warmed my heart. I was like, this is a movie taking its time and doing whatever it wants.
100%.
And I appreciated that, because that whole sequence, I was like, don't stop, keep going, because this is what makes me connect to these characters. And I loved every fucking bit of it. It's so romantic. Romance has been lost from so many modern movies. I'm sure you agree with me. I'm not sure if you're as romantic as I am, but I think you are. I think you are. I think deep down you're hopeless romantic the same way that I am, even if you don't even admit it.
Sure.
But to me, this moment in this movie was like, it just nailed me.
It was something special,
in
for
terms
sure.
of, yeah. And regardless if you like the song or not, it was just, it hit me. And then right afterwards, what I love so much is she's like, you're going to have to go upstairs, because she's been hiding him in her closet, rather. And she's like, I have to go change my pad. You have to go hide it back in my closet.
That was funny as shit, yeah.
Yeah, I loved the shit out of that, because there's that realism to it. And that's something that, you probably wouldn't have heard. I mean, John Hughes was, ultra realistic in terms of his presentation of teenagers in the 80s and stuff, but it just felt real.
My favorite piece of comedy in the movie, I don't even want to spoil it, like I'm not going to even tell you what it is, but it involves,
you're not going to
ruin it involves a dildo, and holy
that's right after that.
Yeah, shit, man. That scene made me laugh
old
the hardest.
Those old school dildos with those huge. We might have one upstairs.
But dude, yeah, that was the funniest comedy bit for me that I laughed so hard at. It was fantastic, and I love that Catherine Newton as Lisa Frankenstein. She plays this really reserved geek, finding herself so perfectly. And dude, again, this movie's on her shoulders, and she's super funny in the moments that she's supposed to be super funny. Like, what I'll say is that in the scene with the dildo, she says a remark, and it was very like almost like Napoleon Dynamite-esque.
I remember you saying that. Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it, man.
within the tone of that. Yeah, for sure. And I don't recall many people in the crowd laughing, but I remember you and I both laughing out loud. You know, I think you know, this is something to be said about this movie, that if you're in on the joke, if you're in on it and you're connecting with it, you're going to feel it 100%. There are those people that may watch this that, you know, it's just not their shit. It's not their thing, and they may not connect with it. But, you know, I think for us, it was like the perfect blend of the things that we both love mixed together, where we just really connected with that. And then, dude, from there on, once you're in that world, everything else is just like, you know, it's all entertainment value. And that moment for me was so hilarious. And I was like, you know, but it's heartwarming. And it's interesting to see a movie like that bring up such a subject, but it still feels like it warmed my heart a little bit. Is that weird?
No, it
you know?
It worked. And it's at this point in the movie that you also start to really see that the creature has absolutely fallen for Lisa and just wants to do whatever she needs in whatever moment she needs it.
Yeah, and then from there, the movie kind of goes off the deep end, as we would consider like most of these movies of the era would do. You know, the police have already started to investigate these murders. So, you know, Lisa avoids being implicated before going to the home of her crush, which this sequence is very difficult to deal with. You know, we have her stepsister who's dealing with the loss of her mother, or, you know, she's missing, if you will. She doesn't know if she's dead or not yet. And Lisa's like, I want to fuck this dude. Like, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. I'm probably going to go to jail. And she tells the creature, like, you're going to take me. We're going to go do this. We're going to go to his house, and I'm going to go fuck him.
And the creature doesn't want to bring her, and is trying to talk her out of it for obvious reasons. He's in love with her.
Yeah. So it's funny because he drives her there. I'm like, you know, he's Michael Myers driving. It always leads me back to Halloween, where like he can't drive, and you know, and then of course Dr. Loomis is like, he was doing very well last night.
He was doing very well last night.
You know, and then in this case, the creature's driving really fucking well. He's just driving around doing his thing, and they get to the crush's house, and Lisa goes upstairs. She's all dressed up. She's ready to like shoot her shot, and then she sees none other than her stepsister,
that Laffy Taffy,
who already fucked her crush. And this is the moment in the movie, Jeremy, where I could not believe what I was seeing for a PG-13 rating. She freaks out. Lisa freaks out. And then the creature comes in the room. And dude, holy fucking shit, he cuts the motherfucker.
He cuts the dick off, man. He cuts the dick off, bro, because the creature had basically let Lisa Frankenstein know, like, hey, my penis is not still intact from having, you know, been a corpse for a long time. So
I assumed it was rotted.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, it's one of those things.
So he needs a dangalang. He needs a kang dangalang. So, you know, the crush of Lisa, who was banging Lisa's stepsister, the creature comes in and chops his ding dang off. And for us in a PG-13 film to get away with that is all you see is the shadow of the dick flying through the air, like reflecting on the wall. So, and then quickly the creature goes and picks it up. He's like, all right, I'm out. Like, he literally leaves and rushes home to get, you know, the most important for him member reattached. So he's like stoked. He's like, I got to get this dick like right now. It has to be attached. So he leaves, and she's basically Sally from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, she just watched a zombie murder the guy that she's been banging and chop his dick off. So Taffy is covered in blood. She's hysterical. She has no idea what the fuck's going on. And
Lisa just throws her in the fucking car.
And
Isn't that hilarious?
Because even Lisa brings it up, Taffy has always been so nice to her and so considerate. And even though she banged
Very
her
true.
crush,
Yeah.
she's always been the only person who's truly been great to her. Even her own dad has kind of neglected her and her needs after her mother got murdered, and he quickly, married this lady that's awful to her. So Taffy truly was the only person in her life that really was going above and beyond to be nice to her and caring for her. So even though she's upset, and this is another reason why I like this movie a lot, is because typically it'd be like, oh, well, you were fucking, my crush. So creature, go ahead and murder her, right?
You would expect
it, but no, Lisa.
Yeah, for her to kill her, but no.
Lisa wanted to take. Lisa wanted to take care of her and was like, "It's okay, come on, Taffy."
She cares about her because, to be clear, like the whole movie, even though Taffy is like this quintessential like cheerleader, like airhead type, she's really not. Like, she's written very smart. She's just doing her own thing, and she's ready to please. She's just one of those people. And I love that it was written that way and not just airhead, like we're a typical John Hughes movie. I mean, he did give depth to the airhead, so maybe I should take a few steps back, if you will. But in the traditional 80s sense, the airhead was an airhead, So that's where the smart writing comes in here. So Taffy gets spared, but she's like absolutely horrified by what she sees. But what happens here, Jeremy, is one of the most I love the shit out of how dark and weird this is. So the creature and Lisa go back to the tanning bed. They cut off dude's dick, and he puts it on himself, and she like sews it on him, and he goes into the tanning bed so she can fuck him. This is the moment where they realize. And I teared up during this part. Like, again, I was like, oh, she realizes, like, you love me. You're in love with me. You want to be with me. And the creature, even though he can't speak at this point, he's like, accentuating these movements and these mannerisms to let her know, like, everything I've been doing is
for you,
based on what you said that you wanted to be with me. And they have sex. And then, the ending is pretty epic. I don't know if you want to lay it on the line and let our listeners know exactly what it is, but it's like kind of like, it feels like Heather's in the tone a little bit, but Lisa's like, I want to be with you. And if I can't be with you, I don't want to be anywhere. So she gets in the tanning bed, and the creature basically electrocutes her, and the entire tanning bed, little, I don't know if it's called a shed, if you will, goes up in flames, and then like they're both burning.
You're led to believe that they both burn together in romantic fashion. That they know that the walls are closing in. They committed these murders
in true romantic fashion,
and
right?
we're going out together. While you find out in the last scene in the movie that the creature takes her, and they actually escape from the fire, so they don't burn up in the fire. But
we don't know that until later
on. You find out.
You
find out that she is basically undead now, just like the creature. And did you catch Zelda, the director, her nod to her father in the very last scene of the movie?
Oh, please elaborate.
Yes, sir. So I don't know if you recall what the creature is wearing while they're sitting on the bench together at the very end of the movie, but it just so happens to be rainbow-colored suspenders, like Mork from Mork and Mindy, famously
God.
played by her late father, Robin Williams.
I didn't even pick up on that.
That was a nod, obviously, to her father. And my buddy Nick Greystone was the one that was like, "Did you catch the reference?" And I was like, "No." And he hit me up, and I was like, "Holy shit, I missed that." But yeah, it's totally there. And
can you imagine? Robin's one of my heroes.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's on that list for a lot of us. Can you imagine if he were still alive and he saw this? How proud he would be of Zelda.
Insanely.
Like, I mean, the direction in this movie, aside from the script and the performances, is the strong point. And I can't wait to see what she does next. I mean, she's well suited for this kind of movie. And you can tell, like, with the sense of, comedy when it lands, the comedy moments when they hit, it's there. And that can only come from someone that understands that. And, dude, if you're the offspring of, technically one of the most iconic and most prolific fucking comedians of all fucking time.
Ever. Yeah.
And not putting too much pressure on her or anything like that, because she's done her work. She's done music videos. She's directed all kinds of smaller stuff, but this is her first movie. She's acted in stuff even way back to when she was a kid, and she was in some of the stuff that he was in. It's great to see. Like, for me, it makes me feel good that his legacy is living on in his children, because I mean, dude, I miss him every day. Like, I think about whenever I watch one of his movies, and it kills me to know, like, that he, we won't get into that, but like how he ended his life and how that all went down and stuff. It's like, this was a breath of fresh air, even though the subject material, dude, is like really fucking dark, and it goes in a really weird place. But the end of the movie is heartwarming.
It's finally
it's like, as monster fans, we're like, this fucking rules.
Yeah, finally, the whole film, the creature has not spoken. He's not talked. And the very last scene of the movie is him holding Lisa, and she's alive, well, undead, if you will, in his arms, and he's reading poetry to her, and he's speaking and he's talking, and it's like, it was just a beautiful way to end the movie. And I know that not everything was perfect in this movie. There was a few inconsistencies, but honestly, like,
very true, yeah.
Nothing in this movie really bothered me except for the fact that they let the asshole chick, who was a dick to Lisa the whole movie, like, they let her live.
You wanted her,
man, like,
you wanted her nailed, like, you wanted her nailed to a fucking wall and slash her.
Typically,
style.
when they go out of their way to make a character such a fucking asshole,
in this case, such a fucking
100%, it's because they're like, there's gonna be a payoff later when we fucking execute this character. And no, they let her live. So honestly, like, if I had to give one concrete gripe about the film, it would probably be that. And even that, it's not that big of a deal. It's whatever.
It's not that big of a deal. And you know what the thing is? I think that was done intentionally. My main issue walking away from it is, and like I said after we saw the movie, was tonal inconsistencies, if you will. Like, there are moments where there are murders that are horrific and done tonally, like, very seriously. And then very quickly after that, we're dealing with characters that are mourning those murders. And during the murders, they're done with this sense of comedy. And I love comedic murders in horror movies. That's one of my favorite things. But the aftermath of those murders were done in such a serious way that I felt so bad for the character that I was like, it didn't tonally connect in the same way. So I think there are some tonal inconsistencies in the movie. But let's face it, my friend, seriously, for a directorial fucking debut, you got to admit,
dude.
I mean, that's like the smallest gripe to have with this movie. Motherfuckers, no one's going to see this in the theater right now, and everyone in the world should be going to see this. It's PG fucking 13. It's super fun, great characters. There's romance, there's murder, there's great musical numbers, there's style, there's aesthetic, there's 80s, nostalgia to it. Why would you not go see this thing? It's such a huge bummer, like, I don't understand. Like, the marketing was good, the trailers were good. Dude, why do you think no one's going to see this?
I don't know, but I mean, as soon as we saw it, and reports started coming out that the box office was not doing well for the film, I immediately started posting, like, guys, go see this movie.
I did the same thing. There's a lot of our friends that are doing the same thing on Twitter and stuff. Like, again, even if you didn't think it was the best movie ever, I still think 100% it deserves to be seen in theaters. Like, dude, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the kind of movie that you and I both want to see more of.
Absolutely,
right?
Which is why I immediately was like urging, everyone on my social media to go see this movie, because I think that it's important, and I think that it was a great film that I super enjoyed, and I think that this is also a movie, like a lot of 80s films that we love, that with time it's going to find its audience regardless.
100%.
And that
yes.
I do think that this will be a movie that fans are talking about down the line about how fucking great it is, and that it's going to find its audience. I could see it becoming, like you said, like a Heathers, or, on a different level, like a Rocky Horror Picture Show, that it finds
a Jennifer's
absolutely.
Body. I mean, that's the thing that pisses so many people off, is that, that movie didn't do well, and you have the same writer, and people are like, we want more of those, right? But no one's going out to see this.
Show up, yeah.
Show the fuck up, dude. Go to your local cinema, It's not that difficult to think about this. Like, just go see it. And I know people that have seen it 4 or 5 times in theaters. I feel bad that I've only seen it once, but it's super enjoyable. It has something for literally everyone. I think even my mother-in-law.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, your parents would probably enjoy it, Jeremy. You know what I'm saying? Like, my kid would enjoy it. Like, there's something in there for everyone, even though there's some violence in there and there's some spooky shit. I mean, it's just, you said it perfectly earlier on. It's like Tim Burton married with John Hughes. And, like, who the fuck doesn't love those two things mixed together, So as we wrap this thing up, we got to get down to it, my friend. Jeremy, trash it or treasure it. Where are you going with this one?
You know where I'm going.
Oh, do
treasure,
I?
Baby,
Okay.
treasure.
Okay. Yeah. Lock and step with you, as we talked about after the screening and stuff. And I had some time to think about it because we're a little bit late on this review, but we definitely decided we had to talk about this one. It deserves to be discussed. It deserves to be reviewed. Hopefully you saw it before you listened to this review. We talked about that we were going to spoil the whole thing before we got into it. But if we spoiled the whole thing for you and you still haven't seen it, go fucking see it. Go, matinee or something. Give it your $5 or whatever. Go check it out. But for me, it's going to be a treasure it. And that was something that I thought about a lot, because I wasn't necessarily walking out of the theater feeling this way. But the movie will be considered a cult classic. There's so much to enjoy here. It's so lovable. Great. I mean, the one thing we didn't talk about enough is the amazing, spectacular chemistry between Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse. I mean, they're just brilliant together. Sure. They're two peas in a fucking pod, and they make this movie so fucking perfectly together as a cast. And, I mean, Cole, holy shit, dude. Zach and Cody, whatever
Big Daddy,
whatever the show he was on, whatever it was he was on, the Nickelodeon shit that he was on, Disney, whatever it is, I'm probably getting it wrong, but whatever he was on, he has good shit ahead for him, because he was fantastic. He did full makeup for the movie. You could tell he cared a lot about, harkening back to the old school zombie, and, he had a love for what he was doing with this character, so props to him. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for fucking listening to this episode, to this Fresh Fright review of Lisa Frankenstein. Again, if you have not seen the movie, thanks for listening. But if you have, thanks for listening again. If you haven't, go fucking see it as soon as you possibly can before it leaves theaters. Am I right?
Go now!
Go fucking see this
like
thing.
A good neighbor.
Do it now.
State Farm is there.
Come on. Don't kill your neighbor.
Neighbor!
But great commercial.
Yeah.
God damn it. I watched the whole Super Bowl. I hate sports, but I watch it every year because the wife loves the halftime show, and we watch the commercials and shit. And that was my favorite commercial. And of course, we watch all the trailers, which there was a handful, which were fantastic. But Arnold, I'm glad to see you getting that paycheck. It was hilarious. Someone finally fixated on your accent in the right way and made some money off it, and you made some money too. But if this is your first time listening, thank you for listening. If this is your 100th time, thanks again for listening. If you have not ever listened to the show before, you're the best. Go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. It takes about 5 seconds to do so. And, of course, we have a Patreon, and we're hopefully going to build it up to something soon. We're all over social media at Epic Film Guys. You can find us everywhere in every single podcatcher. But as always, this is just something we love doing, and we love that you appreciate listening, and, we appreciate you. So, as always, my name is Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
And we like to ask you to keep it creepy. Yeah.
Bye.